Not all video game items are created equally. We're naturally conditioned to think that everything we pick up is going to be potentially useful, yet these 10 games, well, they don't play by the rules, as these are items that were absolutely useless by design. With this in mind, I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 video game items that are completely useless on purpose. Number 10, Grifters Shop, World of Warcraft. So to begin with, in theory, all of Grifters' wares are actually greatly useful. They do things like protect you from tick balangs, make food and drink, heal you, and let you swim through water. Only, as you might have noticed just by me reading those out, these are all things that you can already do. You automatically gain the ability to swim in-game. Food and drink already heals you, and get this, tick balangs don't even exist in this game, so it's safe to say that you're pretty much safe from harm. He's a con man in every sense of the word, and his prices are utterly extortionate, so much so that players actually bought them because with that price tag, they must do something right. Wrong. So unless you're a rogue looking to buy pets from him, steer clear of this shady merchant because he'll grab your gold and leg it given half the chance. Number 9. The Sea Ring, Lufia 2 Rise of the Sinistrals. When the Sea Ring was first designed for Lufia 2, it appears that it was designed to give you extra protection against sea creatures, which obviously sounds pretty useful, right? If you came up against a fishy foe or an enemy called Jules Gill, Glub Glub, etc. However, after designing this ring, the devs never actually made or marked any of the enemies you face in the game as sea creatures, meaning that the Sea Ring is totally without use. Now, you could say that this was unintentional, but somebody on the team definitely noticed that this particular item protected against absolutely nothing and decided it was pretty funny if it got left in regardless. Otherwise, the item would have been likely wiped from the title. This led to the player base having a meltdown as they tried to discover what it did and were stuck in our inventories for ages, mocking us at every turn when it was revealed that it did nothing. Number 8. The Hair Picks, Double Dragon Neon. The hair picks in Double Dragon Neon will barely be used by anyone actually trying to win the game, because throwing them only does a single point of damage to the enemy they hit, making it infinitely less useful than just using your fist like God and the developers intended. However, it does have one benefit, even if it is completely unhelpful. The hair pins to the enemy's hair. I mean, this doesn't aid you in any way, but it is strangely amusing to do, especially as a bold man, just to see how it rests on the follicles of every foe you face. And if you're actually going to try and complete the game to 100%, you'll need to throw a hairpin at each and every enemy in the game, meaning that you'll actually be using this useless item for nothing other than to say that you use this useless item a lot. Funny, but overall completely pointless. Number 7. The Scroll of Literacy Check, Ancient Domains of Mystery. The Scroll of Literacy Check, when you first receive it, seems like the kind of interesting mystery that we all absolutely adore. If your literacy skill is below 90, you'll get fragments of the message it contains, which sparks within you a desire to see this full scroll uncovered, because who knows, it might lead to a cool hidden secret. But does it? No. As if your literary skill is above 90, you'll be able to read the message which states, if you can read this, you must be pretty good. I mean, I guess we brought this on ourselves because the scroll is indeed called the Scroll of Literacy Check, but it's a bit of a kick in the shins and a pie in the ear for how some players probably hoped that this would lead them to hidden treasures and riches unbound, and instead was nothing more than this. Number 6. Horse Manure, Mordhau. As weird as it is, dung can be pretty useful in a whole lot of games. Between staggering enemies and causing poison damage, it can actually provide surprisingly effective aid in some tricky situations. Unless, of course, you're playing Mordhau, where the manure in this game is even less useful than it is in real life. It doesn't poison enemies, which takes away its one real usage in combat, and does monumentally low amounts of damage. Sure, you can use it to taunt lesser opponents by slowly dunking them to death with dookies, but that is likely to get old real fast, and make you actually feel more than a little bad because somebody had to deal with you murdering them with manure. As such, this strange projectile blends kind of into the ranks of useless weapons as well, such as loots, training swords, and carving knives, because, like these items, well, it's literally Number 5. Garbage, LA Noire. While this is a more obvious one than many of the collectibles or pieces of useless equipment you pick up on your journeys throughout other games, the amount of detritus that you have to wade through to find clues for your cases in LA Noire is both astounding and infuriating. At the start of discovering clues, having useless trash around that you can pick up and inspect actually does make perfect sense. You don't want to have every item be a clue, otherwise you might risk making finding these items feel far less interesting. However, even when you walk past a useless item for the 10th time, it's still tricky triggers the same reaction in the game as a real clue might, leading you to pick it up again thinking that you've missed something, and all you'll hear is Cole say that the item is useless and throw it to the floor again. And this happens a lot, trust me. I'll be like second guessing myself, just being like, is there actually something on this? Cole's is like, no, there's nothing on this. I'm like, are you sure, mate? No, there's nothing on this. But are you sure, mate? And thanks to these actions, we make Cole look like an absolute idiot. How can we expect him to catch the greatest criminal masterminds ever if he has the memory of a bloody goldfish? Number 4, fishing equipment, Path of Exile. Path of Exile has a really strangely large amounts of equipment that gives bonuses to your fishing ability. So many, in fact, that you might even prep yourself for your first fishing trip by picking up resources that you hope will net you something really great. But I really hope that you haven't done that, because the fishing items in this game, well, they hide one dark secret. There's no fishing in Path of Exile. It's not a minigame or even in a secret area or anywhere in the game. The equipment with fishing bonuses is just a dev joke and a prank played on unaware players. Really though, it's actually a pretty smart decision to make, as weird as this sounds, because it makes what would otherwise be far less interesting items suddenly have a little more something to them, even if that something is fantasy fishing skills. The only thing it's really missing is actually a competition on who could get the higher fishing bonus based on their equipment. I mean, if you're going to make a fake stat that doesn't help anything, you may as well go all in after all. Number 3, the Belt of Free Action, Morrowind. Now, by all means, the Belt of Free Action should be a super useful item. It allows players who use it to cure paralysis, which is an especially troublesome status that prevents you from moving. However, there is just one tiny issue with this. This being that you can't actually cast things while paralyzed, so you're actually unable to use the belt for its one intended purpose. While you could say that this was an accident, there are actually plenty of other items in the game that intentionally sabotage their own use, like the Boots of Blinding Speed, which give you incredible speed, but also blinds you unless you dispel the whole blind thing, which is its whole own adventure entirely. As such, the belt is almost definitely meant to mess with you, and probably will unless you connect the easy to miss dots. It's kind of cool though, as were a world like the one in Elder Scrolls actually to exist, there'd definitely be plenty of artifacts that are just, well, completely useless in it. Number 2, the Real Knife, Undertale. If you chose to do the bloodthirsty genocide route of Undertale, you'll quickly realize that many of the items that would otherwise be useless suddenly have value to you. After all, in the peaceful routes of the game, you basically have zero use for any attack upgrades or items, whereas when you suddenly have cutesy pixel monsters to kill, they're absolutely vital. In a strange twist of fate though, the most powerful piece of attack-based equipment is actually nearly entirely worthless. This is because the real knife is obtained in Asgore's home, which you reach after killing all but one enemy in the game. And said final enemy is the last boss of the game, Sans. Now, because of the nature of this fight, where you have to dodge his increasingly insane attacks until you're finally given one opening to kill him, Sans has basically no defense and just a single point of health, meaning it literally doesn't matter how high your attack stat is for this fight. And so, unless you hack the game to get the knife early, getting it serves no purpose aside from making you realize that you're pretty hardcore, and quite the murderer to boot. And number 1, the Pendant, Dark Souls. The Pendant in the first Dark Souls game is perhaps the single funniest prank in the history of gaming. As the series has already established itself as a devilishly difficult one with Demon's Souls, those going into Dark Souls were fully aware that they'd need all the help that they could get with the various troublesome bosses and regular enemies they'd be facing. And so the Pendant item that you can obtain as your starter item seems like an interesting choice. And to make things even more interesting, Miyazaki stated that it was one of the best choices to begin the game with, resulting in intense speculation as to what the secret benefit of picking this mysterious item was. But proving himself to be a true trickster, Miyazaki would later reveal that he had a bit of an intention to play a prank by telling everyone that the item had a use, because in actuality, it did not. Mind you, this was after hours and hours of effort amongst players to try and do anything imaginable to figure out what the use of the pendant was. And in a mysterious and elusive game like Dark Souls, it made total sense to think that there was going to be some use, even if it was completely obscure. As it turned out, its use was to amuse the creators while players tried to find a use for a useless item. Cheers. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 video game items that were completely useless on purpose. Hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what else you would have added to this list, because who knows, I might do a commenter's edition further down the line. If you want to chat to your big bold bad boy on social medias, then why not swing by Twitter and go to @RetroJ to follow me. Also, while you're here, why not do me a favor and go to Live and Let's Dice. It's my gaming channel. Yes, that's right, I have my own personal gaming channel, woot woot. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. We detailed today about video game items that were completely useless on purpose. But you know what what, my friend? You are not useless at all. You are a bloody big ledge, and you deserve love, happiness, and success. Don't go around beating yourself up for mistakes that you've made in the past. Try and forgive yourselves and people that have wronged you if you have the capability, because it will help you move onward and make you realize that you are truly special. You are not useless. You have one life, and you deserve to live it bloody well. So go out there and smash it, you big ledge. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.